man is the measure of all things. The Vienna Circle forged ahead in the tradition of Ernst Mach and Ludwig Boltzmann, two towering physicists who had made great discoveries and had taught philosophy in turn-of-the-century Vienna. The other main guiding lights of the small band of thinkers were the physicist Albert Einstein, the mathematician David Hilbert, and the philosopher Bertrand Russell. Before long, a thin volume that had just been published came to dominate the discussions of the Vienna Circle. This was the Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, written by Ludwig Wittgenstein during his military service in the trenches of World War I. Wittgenstein, after renouncing his huge inheritance, had become a teacher in an elementary school in rural Lower Austria. After a while, however, he began talking with a few members of the Vienna Circle, and this link gradually brought him back to philosophy. The Vienna Circle wanted to have nothing to do with hallowed and often stuffy philosophical traditions. The scientific worldview knows no unsolvable riddles. Clarification of the traditional philosophical problems sometimes leads to their unmasking as pseudo-problems, and other times converts them into empirical problems, which can thereby be subjected to the methods of experimental science. The task of philosophical work lies in this type of clarification of problems and statements, rather than in the crafting of special philosophical statements. Brilliant newcomers joined the group, such as philosopher Rudolf Carnap, mathematician Karl and logician Kurt Gödel. These three in particular were eventually to radically redefine the border regions between philosophy and mathematics. The philosopher Karl Popper, too, became closely connected with the Vienna Circle, although he never was invited to its meetings. The Circle quickly became the world centre of the movement called logical empiricism. Leading thinkers in Prague, Berlin, Warsaw, Cambridge, and Harvard picked up the threads of its discussions. In 1929, the Vienna Circle embarked on a new public presence through its own journals, conferences, books, and lecture series. This significant shift was heralded by a manifesto titled The Scientific World View. The manifesto was not so much a birth certificate, after all, Schlick's circle had already existed for 5 years, as it was a christening. The name Vienna Circle, proposed by Otto Neurath, was new, and was meant to evoke positive associations, such as Vienna Woods or Viennese Waltz, and also was intended to serve as a trademark. The content of the manifesto was a signpost announcing not only a new philosophical school, but also a new social and political agenda. The scientific worldview serves life, and life embraces it. The authors of the manifesto belonged to the left wing of the small group, and they made no secret of their ardent wish to thoroughly reform society. The Ernst Mach Society, founded by members of the Vienna Circle in 1928, was dedicated to the spreading of the scientific worldview. It sided with social democratic Red Vienna in the political struggle for reforms, especially in housing and education. Despite its name, Red Vienna, or Rotes Wien in German, was not a communist movement, but simply the nickname for Vienna in the period under the Social Democrats, which lasted from 1918 through 1934. Coffee and cigars. It wasn't long before the Vienna Circle and the Ernst Mach Society had become favourite targets for the anti-Semitic and right-wing currents that existed in Vienna. The political ambience was growing increasingly menacing. During this second public phase, the Vienna Circle slowly disintegrated. Carnap moved to Prague, Wittgenstein to Cambridge. After the Austrian Civil War of 1934, Neurath was barred from returning to Austria. In that same year, Hahn died unexpectedly. Young Gödel repeatedly had to spend time in psychiatric hospitals. In 1936, Schlick was assassinated on the steps of the main building of the university by a former student. Soon after that, Menger and Popper, disgusted by the prevailing public mood, opted for emigration. Most members of the Vienna Circle left Vienna well ahead of the so-called cleansing following the Anschluss, the annexation of Austria by the Third Reich, but not all of them. In the war year of 1940, Kurt Gödel, against all odds, finally arrived.